rules are made to be broken, especially these ones.
Miss Mosley, there's a delightful seat here in the front of the class.
Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 worst school rules ever. Before we begin, we publish new videos every day, so be sure to subscribe for more great content. For this list, we'll be specifically looking at rules frequently applied at school, with little reason behind their implementation.
Well, what can we do?
Well, I think maybe I'll put you on a low dose of Xanax and Zoloft.
Number 10. No Advil in locker. Illicit drugs obviously have no place in school, and sometimes prescription and over-the-counter drugs are abused by users as well.
So I figured $10 a pill, right? We split the profit, which means you make almost $500 without spending a nickel.
But we're at a loss for any example of an individual abusing Advil to get high. Playing devil's advocate, perhaps the biggest reason for this rule is to prevent students from popping pills disguised as headache relievers. Look, if anyone's genuinely planning to pop a Xanax during school hours, they certainly won't be doing it at their locker in front of everyone. And what's the consequence of this narrow-minded regulation? Nothing on most days, but we'll all encounter headaches in class eventually. And, sadly, a quick fix is not within some schools' boundaries.
I had a headache.
So I assume you took the recommended aspirin dosage for a headache.
I didn't try to kill myself.
Number 9. No chewing gum in class.
All right, let me hear the horns! No chewing gum in class, Mr. Morris.
We've all been there. An aimlessly wandering hand traces the bottom of a chair. And next thing you know, you've accidentally touched gross old gum that was recklessly placed there Lord knows how many days ago.
Maybe there's gum under the seats!
Why would someone do that? Perhaps because it's the only way to get rid of gum without swallowing it or getting caught disposing of it in the trash. 99% of people know how to chew gum without distracting other people, yet it's one of the most infamous rules out there. We the people demand an explanation.
Also, a kinesthetic learner, who is a learner that likes motion, would find some comfort in the chewing motion, and there is some research that proves it increases the blood flow to the brain.
Number 8. No piercings.
You pierced her ears? Doesn't it make her nose look smaller?
Piercings are an ever-popular form of expression that's utilized by both men and women. Aside from a few extra minutes spent at airport security, there are few valid arguments against them. Most high schools will graciously allow stud piercings, but will effectively eliminate the myriad of other choices available.
School policy makes exceptions for a sincerely held religious belief, but Ariana's appeal was denied.
Since pierced tissue tends to close up quickly, this makes it difficult to remove piercings during school hours. Do teachers think this rule will stop us from channeling our inner Holden Caulfield?
Holden Caulfield will tell him what he really thought about him. Holden hates phonies more than anything.
Hey, at least belly rings and certain other choices should still be able to fly under the radar.
You pierced your navel?
Yeah, I meant to talk to you about that.
Number 7. No hair dyeing. What's the most common response to any school rule rebuttal? Teachers follow the rules, and therefore you should too.
Pretty, where are your sleeves? And what have you done to your hair?
It's called punk.
Thing is, there are certainly more than a few teachers who dye their hair on a regular basis. According to an article in The Atlantic, 70% of American women use hair coloring products. But even half that number nullifies any argument here. Just because a teacher would choose brown over blue doesn't make their case any different.
Yeah, hell, shit happens.
What's worse, compliance with this rule may result in cutting off the majority of your hair if informed after the fact.
This is gonna look so much better. You're gonna look like a man instead of like a little girl.
Number 6. No cell phones.
We have zero tolerance for cell phones in class, so we will get to know each other in detention. Cell phone!
Okay, so this rule requires a more nuanced look. Non-stop texting during class can in fact be rather distracting, but many among us have had our phones taken away if they're simply on during class. This means a faint vibration or ringtone may result in detention. The teacher has a duty to instill order in his or her classroom, but this rigidity is a bit over the top, especially considering they can be used as a learning tool.
Oh,
You're children! Why do you all need cell phones?
Safety.
Emergency.
Safety.
Educational.
If a student's phone usage gets in the way of that, action must be taken. But perhaps this rule should be dialed back a few notches to a more reasonable level.
Hey, Steve. What time you watch the UFC fight, bro? By the way, you think Lisa would go out with me? Whoa! Lisa over there?
Number 5. No social media on school computers. A typical high school computer's firewall is strong enough to keep a would-be Edward Snowden out.
Facebook? Is that possible?
What's more, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube are typically not included in the greenlit sites.
Before we begin, children, may I remind you the school computers are not to be used to access principalskinnerstinks.com, skinnersucks.org, or shavedskinner.edu.
We don't always have homework during free periods in study halls, which begs the question, what better use of this time is there than catching up with friends, family, or our favorite celebrities? Or better yet, some WatchMojo content. But alas, social media likely won't be showing up on school computers anytime soon. Meaning, precious data must be used to keep up to date with friends and family during school hours.
Just a minute.
No, let's do Apple quit.
Number 4. No wearing hats.
Just like the style of it and just cool to wear.
In the history of state-mandated education, has any school official actually explained the rationale behind this rule? In all fairness, the brim of a hat could be used for cheating during an exam, but that just requires turning a hat around whenever there's a test.
Mr. Ribbis, see you brought a hat to school today.
Sure did, sir.
You know that I collect hats.
Is there a head lice epidemic we've somehow missed? Is there a killer gang whose secret symbol is every baseball cap ever? Not a chance. Perhaps this mother of all dumb school rules was never given proper thought, and has been around for so long that people are simply too stubborn to change it.
Look out. Look out. Look out. Coming through. Take your head off in school.
Number 3. Seating charts. The sentiment behind most of these frustrations is the tendency for these rules to inhibit our freedom of expression.
But I'll tell you how I feel about school, Jerry. It's a waste of time.
In a person's teen years, individuality is of the utmost importance, and a strict rule is bound to suggest that we cannot think for ourselves. Finding a seat in class is one of the most basic concepts out there, yet a seating chart is required in many classrooms. The daydreamer won't pay attention more if they're like 5 feet closer to the front.
Join us up front. Be one of us.
The class overachiever won't drop out because they're exiled to the back. Instead, this unyielding rule is bound to unnecessarily take just a little more personal freedom from students. Number 2, no food in class.
It's not funny. You want to go to the principal's office?
What? It's a French spaghetti.
Most of us learn to do 2 things at once at a rather early age, and taking in information while eating a snack is not exactly a mental feat to be proud of. Conversely, are we really expected to believe that this would impede our ability to learn?
Am I hallucinating here? Just what in the hell do you think you're doing?
Learning about Cuba, having some food.
Food is notorious for being allowed only during the very brief time allotted for lunch while at school.
That's what I'm talking about.
On top of this, there is a practically universal response by teachers for chowing down in class. Did you bring enough for everyone? Maybe someone should stay after school and write some new jokes.
I hope you brought enough for everybody.
I didn't know there was gonna be so many.
Number 1, can't use the bathroom during class.
Yes, what is it?
I need to go poopies.
Officer Barbrady, in school we go to the bathroom before and after class.
Oh, Christ, how do you kids do it?
Pro tip, if you ask to use the bathroom in college or the real world, everyone will look at you like you're crazy. That's because few scenarios outside of high school require permission for the most basic of bodily functions.
I had an accident.
You had an accident? What does that mean?
Goo!
Worse yet, if it's an emergency, you may be required to make your case if denied access upon first request. Sure, only allowing one person to go at once kind of makes sense, but not being allowed near a toilet when your bladder is about to burst is just plain ridiculous. School's embarrassing enough without having to deliver a 30-point presentation on why you need to go to the can.
And their parents are trusting us to supervise their students, so my goal is to keep all students supervised at all times.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out these other great clips from WatchMojo and subscribe for new videos every day.